Why does waiting start to feel like you're sinking instead of being helped? You didn't stop believing, you just stopped knowing how much longer you can hold on. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. Psalm 40:1-2. Waiting is rarely described the way it actually feels. People talk about it as if it's calm, disciplined, faithful, but when you're inside waiting, it doesn't feel calm at all. It feels heavy, it feels slow, it feels like standing still while everything else keeps moving without you. You wake up already tired of holding hope. Not tired in your body, but tired in your will. You look at the same problems, the same unanswered questions, the same closed doors, and something inside you whispers, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. Your prayers change during seasons like this. They get shorter, less confident, more honest. You stop asking for miracles. You start asking for endurance, for steadiness, for something solid under your feet. That's the kind of waiting David is talking about. I waited patiently. This wasn't peaceful waiting. The word means stretched, strained, pulled tight over time. It's the kind of waiting that presses on your soul until everything unessential falls away. Waiting like this exposes what you were leaning on. It reveals how much of your confidence came from progress, how much of your peace depended on movement, how much of your faith was borrowed from momentum. And when momentum stops, all of that collapses at once. That's when waiting starts to feel like sinking. He lifted me out of the slimy pit. A pit like this is dangerous because struggling makes it worse. The more you fight, the deeper you slide. The harder you try to rescue yourself, the more trapped you feel. You know this place. When advice stops helping, when effort stops working, when even spiritual habits feel heavy instead of healing, you are not lazy, you are not weak, you are not faithless, you are stuck. And being stuck is terrifying because time doesn't stop with you. Life keeps moving. Expectations remain. People assume you're fine because you're still functioning. America is full of people like this right now. Not breaking down loudly, but wearing down quietly. People who did everything right, followed the steps, stayed responsible, stayed faithful, and still ended up here. Still waiting, still treading emotional mud, still wondering why nothing is shifting. We live in a culture that worships momentum. If you're not improving, you feel invisible. If you're not advancing, you feel like you're failing. So when God asks you to wait, it doesn't feel spiritual. It feels like falling behind. But David doesn't say God explained the delay. He doesn't say God fixed everything immediately. He says God turned toward him. He heard my cry. That matters. God didn't ignore the pit. He didn't minimize the struggle. He acknowledged the cry, not the polished prayer, not the confident declaration, the raw sound of someone who no longer knew what to say. You don't need the right words to be heard. You don't need clarity. You don't need strength. You need honesty. And honesty in waiting usually sounds like this. I'm still here, but I'm tired. That isn't weak faith. That's surviving faith. He set my feet on a rock. Notice the order. God didn't rush David out of the pit. He lifted him, then stabilized him. Rock doesn't mean comfort. Rock means something that holds when you cannot. Some of you aren't asking for answers anymore. You'd settle for stability, For one day where your emotions don't slide backward. For one moment where anxiety doesn't pull you under. That isn't asking too much. That's asking to stand. Waiting reshapes you in ways success never does. It strips your identity down to what's real. It exposes how much of your peace was tied to outcomes. It teaches you who you are when nothing is working. That process hurts because it forces you to face yourself without distractions. But God doesn't abandon you there. He meets you there. He doesn't ask why you're still waiting. He says he heard you. Being heard doesn't remove the weight, but it changes how long you can endure it. Waiting doesn't just test patience. It reshapes identity. It leaves you without a scoreboard, without reassurance, without feedback. It asks questions you never prepared answers for. Who am I if this doesn't change? Who am I if I'm still here next month? Who am I if the prayer stays unanswered? Those questions don't make you faithless. They make you human. God's work in waiting is rarely visible from the outside, but inside, something is being reinforced. Your faith is being detached from outcomes. Your hope is being separated from circumstances. Your trust is being rooted deeper than results. That takes time. And time feels cruel when you're exhausted. But the alternative is shallow strength, the kind that collapses the next time life slows down. God isn't building speed in you right now. He's building depth. Depth that will hold when things move again. Depth that won't disappear the next time progress stalls. Depth that doesn't depend on constant reassurance. So if this season feels long, if waiting feels heavier than you expected, if you're tired of pretending you're okay with it, you are not broken. You are being strengthened in a way you can't measure yet. One day you'll look back and recognize this season by its fruit, not because it felt good, but because it changed what you lean on. Until then, your task isn't to understand, it's to remain. Remain honest, remain present, remain open, because God is already here, not watching from a distance, but standing with you in the mud, holding you steady until your footing returns. And it will. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but surely. So stay. Stay one more day. Stay one more breath. Stay one more moment longer than despair expects. That is faith in its quietest, strongest form. And for now, that is enough. Amen.